What's up guys, Jeff Cavaliere, AthleanX.com. Do you remember the perfect workouts? They became the most popular workout series ever here on YouTube, and I have you to thank for that. And to show my thanks, guess what? I'm bringing them back. By popular demand, the perfect chest workout kicks off the series here today for 2025 and beyond. Now when it comes to a perfect workout, or in this case a perfect science-based workout, I think it's important to understand that there is no perfect science. So any workout that is actually recommended to you based on the latest in science alone is not really going to cut it. See, here, as we've always done, we rely on the sciences of anatomy and physiology and kinesiology, and we put it all together in a workout that actually makes sense. And we're going to do the same thing for you here. And we're going to sprinkle in what we know now to be the most effective techniques to employ when we're trying to build a bigger chest. But understand, not just for today, but for the long haul. Right? Longevity and joint health is also going to be a big concern of mine as a physical therapist. And it's not just because I'm a nerd for anatomy, it's because this actually matters when you're trying to develop a muscle. And when we talk about the muscle of the chest, it's got three different parts to it. Number one, we've got the upper or clavicular head. And we can see that the fibers run from the clavicle down and out. And I always say, if you want to know how to train a muscle, follow the fibers, which means if you want to move your arm in this direction from down and away to up and in and across your body, ideally, you're going to be able to hit the upper pecs most efficiently, and some of the exercises we have here will do that. Of course, we have the big, large portion of the chest, the sternal head, and that has the fibers running sort of east to west. So again, we want to be able to bring our arm out in front of us, but ideally something to bring our arm across our body too. And then finally, we have that lower abdominal portion of the chest that you can see here. And what does it do? It follows the fibers as well, except this time from high to low and ideally across the body. Some even argue the strongest chest contraction you can get will involve exercises that bring you from this high to low position. And guess what? You're going to find them in this workout too. And I say workout, but I'm actually kind of lying because it's not just one workout, but it's actually two. You see, when it comes to the perfect science-based workout, the first thing you really have to ask yourself is, what's the frequency with which I'm training? And the one thing we do sort of know with pretty good confidence these days is that 2 times a week for a muscle group is actually better than maybe just 1 time a week. The third extra workout in the week isn't really provide much additional benefit, but the 2 will. But it's also highly related to the intensity at which you train. If you train at an extremely high intensity, like Mike Mentzer style training, or even our 100 series workouts, which I'll make sure I link for you at the end of this one, those are pretty damn grueling. And those you can get away with doing just once a week because the intensity is so high. But in this workout, I wanted to make it available to almost every single person watching, so we're going to bring the intensity down just a little bit, but it gives us the chance to split this workout up into 2 different workouts. So you don't just get one, you do get 2. That being said, when you talk about the volume of the workout, you still want to accrue the same amount of volume over the course of the 2 workouts. So these will be a lot shorter, and they'll actually allow you to do a second muscle group on the day that you're training chest. We'll get into that as we build out the entire series. That being said, what do these workouts look like? Well, let's break them down. So with this chest workout and the one to follow, what are we actually trying to achieve in terms of the overall set volume for the week? Because if you want to grow our chest, there's got to be some target point for the number of sets we have to perform. Well, the good news is science actually gives us the answer there too, except it's a little bit more vague. You see, they say somewhere between 12 and 24 sets is the target set volume that you want to have for your chest if you want to grow it best. The reason for some of that vagueness is that there's a lot of overlap between different exercises, so some feel a few more sets than others. That being said, for these workouts, we're going to try to aim for targeting just around 10, 11, or 12 sets per workout so that when you put them together, you're at that 20 to 24 set total. So how does the first workout look? We actually start with a primer. And the first exercise up here is something called a banded external rotation exercise. Pretty simple. You've seen me do it before. Why would we want to do this before our next exercise? And I'm going to give you a hint. The next exercise is a bench press. Because when you do the external rotation work before you bench, you actually warm up the shoulder a little bit more effectively. You actually help to wake up the rotator cuff muscle, which is a very important muscle to be primed before benching, because you want to make sure that it's doing its job. The job of the rotator cuff is to keep that head of the humerus in the middle of the joint and not let it migrate up. Here's the key point for that though. How are you going to program it? I only want to see you do 1 to 2 sets of the exercise done to a very sub-max level, because any fatigue that you might accumulate here could actually decrease the performance of the rotator cuff and not allow it to keep that centralized position of the humerus while you bench press. That would be a bad thing. So again, everything matters in the perfect workout. You're going to do this exercise the right way. The next exercise up, as I told you, is the incline dumbbell bench press. And we're doing 3 sets of 5 to 8. Now, why are we talking about sort of the heavier weights that we're using here? especially if you're a little bit on the older side and you're thinking, I can't really lift heavy. Trust me, you're going to want to lift heavy. You're going to want to make sure that at some point in your training, no matter how old you are, you're still feeling the weight. You're still subjecting yourself to heavier loads because we know that the tension itself can drive progress and growth, and we also know that we need to maximize strength as we get older. It is one of the key criteria for maintaining and having longevity in the gym is to not give up on the strength that you're inevitably going to lose if you don't focus on it. Now, the exercise itself is one that I love. And the thing about the incline press is that it helps us to ensure that we're hitting the upper chest, which is an area of the chest that is most undeveloped for most people. What you'll see me do on my reps, though, is something called a thumbs up dumbbell incline bench press. And you could do the same. And all it does is just allow me to kind of get my arms a little closer to each other at the top with a little bit more adduction, and it doesn't sacrifice the amount of weight that I can use. Remember, keep the incline angle low at like 30 degrees to maximally hit the upper chest fibers. Now, I talk about the upper chest. The good news is, remember, because we have the two split workouts, I don't have to cram a whole bunch of volume towards that area of the chest in just this workout because I know I can hit it again in the next one. What is up next? Well, here we do a crossover. And again, we talk about the importance of not just doing a press, but complementing those exercises with the adduction component or function of the chest. And here we could do this with just a basic crossover. And as I always teach you on this exercise, don't just lean forward into the rep. I want you to actually lean back away from each rep. Because what that does is it gets the shoulders out of the exercise and it gets the chest front and center doing all the work. And another reason why I love this exercise is because it's one of those sort of naturally built-in stretch-based exercises. Because we know if we can apply tension and apply it in a more elongated position, we have better hypertrophy effects. Well, that's why you see this, plus partials. So you take it to 10 to 12 rep max failure, and at the very end, you're not quite done. You get a little bit more if you just start cranking out some of those available partial repetitions. And again, where are these occurring? In that more lengthened position. And again, most of all and most important to me, it's not the magic of the partial. It's the fact that you've taken the exercise to failure and gone through failure and done some additional high intensity repetitions. That is the main benefit scientifically of what partials are providing. So don't leave that on the table. Next up, we can move past that exercise and go into the third, and this is the dumbbell floor fly. Again, I like this exercise because we can do some things that allow us to tap into more effective techniques for our workouts. Here, we can use a mechanical drop set. On the dumbbell floor fly, first of all, I like the safety of the exercise versus the bench version of it, the unsupported shoulder bench version of it, where our shoulders are sort of left out to dry. We don't need to do that because on the floor, we have the bottom landing point that provides a lot more safety to the shoulder joint long term. But what's also nice, because we don't have to worry about that, we can use heavier weights to perform this dumbbell floor fly. And what's even better than that is when we reach failure, we can once again go through failure to this eccentric only portion of the exercise, which means if I tuck my elbows in and basically turn this into a lighter version of a bench press, I can position the dumbbells back up to the top where I can incur yet another eccentrically overloaded rep. So even though I might fail concentrically, I know that I'm stronger eccentrically and I have more left in the tank, and this allows me to take that intensity up another notch and get some great results. So take it all the way to eccentric failure. You're doing 2 to 3 sets here of a load that would cause you to fail in the 8 to 10 rep range. Then, of course, we have our deficit 1.5 rep push-up ladder. Now, why are we doing push-ups? I've talked about push-ups before. I said if you're going to do push-ups, make sure that they're a challenging version of the push-up. By virtue of actually putting them towards the end of this workout, any push-up is going to become more difficult. But by performing them in this way, we're going to also be able to tap into that overload in that stretch position. So a deficit push-up is going to put us in a position where we have our hands on top of either a few plates or a pair of dumbbells. And the point of this is to allow our body to sink lower than what the floor would naturally stop us at. What does that do? It provides more of a stretch to the pecs at the bottom of the exercise. Now, how do we prolong that and get more out of that? By performing 1.5 reps. The ladder means that we go down to the bottom, we come up a half a rep and we go down, but we hold it for 1 second in the stretch position. Come out of that, go down again, come up a half, go down, hold that stretch position in the bottom for 2 seconds. Go down, 1.5 rep, come up, go back down, hold for 3 seconds. So you're going to continue to ascend on that ladder, holding for 1 additional second each time in that bottom stretch position until you can no longer hold the rep and that set is over. And when I say set, that's it, because we're only doing 1 set. Then, of course, we finish up with a bodyweight dip. And why do we like the dip? Because done properly, it's another great exercise that this time allows us to target the lower portion of the chest in a good, safe way. And I say safe because it is possible to protect your shoulder joints on a dip by simply allowing yourself to unshrug your shoulders, right? Get your shoulders back and your chest out, and as you lower yourself down, really fight to prevent those shoulders from drifting up, because that's what gravity is going to want to do. If you can do that, you perform the set to failure, and you have really good stretch on top of the pecs, but we can take it again, like we did before, with a few partial reps at the end to ensure that we've taken the intensity all the way to a point where we know we can see more growth. The rest time on all these workouts is variable. It's somewhere between 1 to 3 minutes, as science would suggest, after all the working sets, and maybe keeping it a lot less, 90 seconds or less, on these primer sets. Now, where does that put you in terms of total set volume? Well, if you exclude the primer and you take the option to do the most amount of sets that were offered to you, that would be 3, 3, 3, that's 9, 10, and 11 sets in this workout. Again, if you do this in workout 2, it's going to put you at that 22 sets for the week, which is right where you want to be. And so what does that second workout look like? Well, you'll see again, we have a primer exercise. This time, it's the band pull apart. You're going to do them the same exact way. 1 to 2 sets, done at that very submax level. And this exercise is great when you perform it from that high position and pull down and apart. You have the effect of hitting the lower traps eccentrically, and also, again, working on those mid-scap muscles and getting the rotator cuff warmed up to allow you to have a more effectively warmed up shoulder to perform, guess what? The bench press. And you'll see that again, we have a dumbbell bench press recommended. Now, why do we have the flat bench press here? Well, we're trying to complement the fact that all we did before in the sternal head was basically the crossover, the adduction focus exercise. We didn't do our basic high tension overload exercise, so that's why we're doing this. The second thing is, for me, when I'm talking about a universal exercise that almost everyone can do, it's going to be the dumbbell bench press versus a regular barbell bench press. Way more forgiving of an exercise, especially for those that have orthopedic concerns or bad shoulders. If you slow down the repetitions, even at higher weights, you're going to feel a lot more protected there and get the benefits of strength gain without sort of the pains that come with doing the wrong form of the exercise. This, for me, is going to be the most universally done exercise for everybody. Then we have the high to low crossover. Okay, and what we have here is the opportunity to get some of the adduction for the lower chest to follow those fibers of the abdominal head, but do so in a way that complements the dips that we were doing in workout 1. And again, I mentioned how nice these opportunities are to have 2 workouts in a week that complement each other, because you don't have to cram all of the focuses into one workout, making for one entirely long workout. The longer that workout gets, the more likely it is that you cannot perform it twice in a week, both for time considerations and your ability to recover from it. So you want to make sure that we have this opportunity. And once again, with these crossovers, we can do some partial repetitions from this end position or stretch position to get more of those benefits. 3 sets of 10 to 12. Then exercise number 3 is the incline cable press. And here, again, we have an opportunity to get some more of that adduction that was missing from the regular dumbbell incline bench press. And I have to tell you, if there's one exercise that I feel more than any other when it comes to chest contraction and chest recruitment, it's this right here. Because we're getting the combination at the same time of the resisted adduction and the resisted pressing all in one motion. When you get to the top of the exercise, make sure you're crossing your hands over each other to get the adduction we're talking about, and perform the exercise all the way to form failure, 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 10 repetitions. Exercise number 4 here is similar to what we did on day 1, where we take that bodyweight exercise and we take advantage of the fact that we can prolong the stretch position on an exercise that's naturally built to offer it. And we're talking about the dip once again. Still adhering to all the things I told you before about keeping your shoulders healthy during this exercise, especially because you're going to spend a little bit more time in that bottom stretch position. Now, you don't have to be extreme here and drive your elbows way back behind your body. Just getting to the bottom of the repetition that feels comfortable for you is enough of the stimulus that's going to get you to that additional growth. But just make sure that you're hanging out there by performing that additional ladder, that rest time hold in the bottom position in that sequential 1 second, 2 second, 3 second, 4 second fashion that we did with the push-ups on workout day 1. And then finally, we have the prison yard push-up. And what we're talking about here is kind of what people talk, the shitty range of motion push-up. But guess what? When you do them with this limited range of motion, you actually tend to focus the majority of the work on the chest and in this bottom, more stretched position. Because when we get to the top of the repetition, we start to shift the focus more towards the triceps. So if we want to make this a good chest overload exercise, and we even want to increase the speed of the repetitions that we're doing, we could do one good burnout set to failure at the end of the workout to make sure that we're putting the final nail in the coffin of your chest for the week. Again, once again, taking advantage of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 11 sets. That puts us at 22 total sets for the week. And so once again, guys, you have supported me, and I thank you for that, and I'm giving back to you with this new series. I'm going to make not just the chest workout, but every single other one in the series. I'm going to make them available in a playlist here on this channel. Remember, if you want the screenshots, here's where you have the opportunity to take this workout to the gym with you, follow it step by step, and I promise you it's going to become the most favorite workout that you've ever tried. Remember, this workout will be done with another one of the perfect workouts as they're released on the same day. This one will be done every 4th day. I'll put together an entire schedule and make it available for you guys for free over on my AthleanX website when we have them ready. In the meantime, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the videos that come out in this series. And also, as always, guys, any new videos we put out on this channel. All research related to these workouts is available in the description below. That's it, guys. Let's go get it done. I'll see you soon.